guys, it's Joette with BalloonCoach.com, and today as we record, it is August 7th, 2024, and I'm excited to have Jonathan Gerber, who is the owner of Party People Events in Lakeland, Florida, and the Balloon Guild, here as a speaker for you to talk about recipes for success. And Jonathan Gerber is somebody that I have known for quite a long while. He actually purchased my business back in 2015, along with several others, to have a dynamic business here in Central Florida, serving from coast to coast. And I really love his work, and I really love his mindset about business. He's one of those people that family is super important to him. So he likes to make sure he's as efficient as possible with his business so that he's not wasting time that he wants to spend with his family. So I'm excited that he's one of those people that continues to be an instructor at Balloon Boss Summit in Orlando, which we have coming up in November. So if you want to have more time hanging out with him in person after this training, you can ask me for a discount code to help you get a ticket to Summit. And so you can always email me, Joette at BalloonCoach.com, if you're watching this as a replay. So without further ado, I want to let Jonathan take things over, give you some great information. And again, those of you watching us live, if you have questions during the presentation, type them into the side, and Jonathan won't have to be distracted by that, but I can be the voice for you when I know it's the right time, and I know he'll let you know when there's times that you can ask questions throughout his conversation today. So again, for those watching live, type in your name, where you're joining us from, and how you heard about today's training. And Jonathan, the court is all yours.
All right, thank you. I do have a question of curiosity, and that is, how many of you, I guess there's three responses: use recipes, make your recipes, or do not use recipes. So let's just say 0 if you don't use recipes at all. 1 is you do use them, and 2, you make your own.
And for those that are newer to the industry, he's talking about balloon recipes, not what
Yes,
you're having for dinner.
instruction guides for business, and recipes, SOPs work as well. So, okay, use and make recipes, 1 and 2. All right, well, that's good. It's good to see a handful of you on there. And it's good to see some of you with zeros, because my goal is that you're going to move on up the ladder from 0 to 1 or 2, and you'll see, hopefully you'll understand why very soon. All right, you guys can keep putting the numbers in if you haven't yet. Joette did a great introduction for me, so I don't feel like I need to introduce myself other than this one little thing here. So she mentioned Party People Events. That is a balloon decor company, and at Balloon Boss Summit 2 years ago, I heard the awesome Mr. Jeff Kelly speak, and he mentioned a word that spawned this idea that has snowballed into the Balloon Guild, and that word was subscription. And it kind of was the word that unlocked an idea that I had and it gave it wheels. Because the idea that I had, I liked it, but I didn't want to do it because it wasn't appealing to me until I thought of something that I can continue to work on and build bigger and bigger and bigger. Through a series of events, that idea was handed to my buddy Jonathan Fudge on a silver platter. Through miscommunication, we got mixed up as being the same person, which happens a ton. And it happens a ton because I started doing balloon twisting in 2001. He started balloon twisting around that same time. He's much younger than me, so he was a little smaller, younger human at that time. But we both started as twisters around 23 years ago. Later, I ended up buying that entertainment company, and then later he started his own entertainment company. Later, I started buying decor businesses, and I've bought several. Later, he bought a decor business. We live like an hour apart, and all the time people confuse us for one another, which helped us to become good friends. We talked about this idea together. He has skills that I do not, and I have skills that he doesn't. And that makes us an amazing team growing a company called the Balloon Guild, which Joette had mentioned. So I'm going to be upfront and honest. I will tell you about the Balloon Guild today, and I would love for you all to be members. I think it is a great use of your money, but I'm not here to sell you on what we do. I'm here to sell you on the fact that I can help you, but I'm here to sell you on the idea of this is something you need for your business, regardless of getting it from the Balloon Guild, or if you just like doing it yourself and putting in the work and it can be fun, then I want you to understand how valuable this is. So that's really what I want you to get from this. And also, it would be awesome if you joined us, but I don't want this to feel like a big sales for my business to you. Okay, so my objectives for today is I want you to understand the benefits of using recipes, that there are benefits that are good for all business types, that there are benefits to scaling your business, and that you will add value to your business by having recipes. And then at the end of that, we're going to do a couple case studies so you can see uh, how realistically these kind of things will help your business, not just in theory, but on paper with actual numbers. Um, I would like you to, I want to kind of give you a little bit of a rundown on how you can make your own recipes, the things that are very important for you to include on every one. For there to be, I want to give you a little heads up on a couple of tools and resources that are very beneficial to using them. I want to walk through a recipe with you so that you can see all the important parts of it and see, in my opinion, how a recipe is effectively created. And then I want to help you understand how to implement recipes into your daily operations for your business, which brings me to the last thing that I want you to do. And that involves getting your staff on board, how to save and organize your recipes, and what do you do with recipes that you seem to use all day.
Headphone for me because I can't. Maybe go in your room and close the door. I'm trying to wash the dishes and
Okay, so this might look familiar to you guys in your own version, of course. And it could be where you're like, man, I need to write this down. This is the third time I've made this marquee with the numbers on it for New Year's, and I need to write this down. And then you pick the quickest piece of paper you can find. If you're really fancy, this metal marquee with the 2021, I added a picture to it, and then I scrabbled notes all over it. Um, these are recipes that I literally have. The ones on the left, the high float, it is a very small notepad. I blew them up so you can see them, but that's a small notepad because that's what we had by us when we were building it. The pink paper at the top, that's a note card. None of these really are going to fit together in any kind of organized fashion. The one on the right is actually a really cool design given to the Balloon Guild by Chris and Marlene Potts from Balloon Masters. And it's another professional company. I feel I don't know the word, where I feel like I'm not the only balloon company who does this. Whatever that word is, I'm not the only one. They also have, and again, theirs is nice. It has a picture and numbers. Are those numbers in inches? Is that like a number on their machine? It's in inches, but I had to ask them to make sure. So a lot of businesses do this. They just grab a piece of paper and they start jotting down notes because we're trying to move at a rapid pace. We're trying to get a lot done. And then what happens is this paper goes in a place so you never forget it until you actually need it. And then you can't find that paper to save your life. So then you build it again. And then later you find it. And now you have two copies and they're identical. And they're both on scrap paper that may or may not even fit in the same kind of binder. I would like to get something like this to be where your goal would be. If you're going to create your own recipes, I would like it for you to have something that is these. I mean, they're all different sizes on the screen, but that's just to show them to you. These recipes are all digital right now, and if I printed them out, they would all print out the exact same size. Some of these recipes that we have are like 9, 10 pages long. I can't even imagine what the chicken scratch would be on those recipes if I were just handwriting them on a notepad. Um, but you can just see already how clear and concise they look. They would be easy for somebody to read and follow. This is the goal for me and what I want for you guys. So real quick, we'll talk about what a recipe is. It's just a basic instruction guide that gives directions to appropriately build a specific design. Components, we will get into these more in depth later, but you need a materials and supplies list, step-by-step instructions that are easy to understand. Photos and illustrations they're a must. And then time estimates are super helpful as well. So I want all four of those things on every recipe that we build. All right. Benefits to everybody's business. This is why you need to really consider this. I assume the fact that you're here means you already think either you just want to hang out with Joette, you want to hang out with me, you want to hang out with each other, or you think that this is really an important topic. But it really is. And some of these are benefits that it's the reason why I have pushed recipes so hard for my own business, because I've bumped into some of these as problems. Quality control is probably the biggest benefit. A well-written recipe is going to provide consistent quality no matter who builds it. A brand new employee who knows how to use your machines and read the language that the recipe is written in, they will be able to build something. It might take them a little bit longer, and it might be a little bit more sloppy just because of your skill level versus theirs. But if I put them right next to each other, you should be able to put them next to each other and they can show up to the same job, and the clients aren't going to know who built what. That's the quality should be relatively the same. Now, you might have recipes that are more complicated, and in that case, it involves a skill that you have to teach your employee in order for them to pull off the recipe. There, you are going to have times where that's what you need to do, is you need to teach your employees certain skills. Once they have it, they should be able to apply it to the recipes that have that skill required. It will make you more efficient. You don't have to figure items out. You don't have to figure out how many balloons are in a design by counting them on a picture. You already have the recipe. It's already in the materials list. You already know. It makes ordering balloons more efficient. It makes building a new design more efficient. Especially the more complicated the design, the more efficient it is when you have a recipe that already tells you how to build it. It makes your pricing easier. The Balloon Guild has a pricing class, and one of the things about that class is knowing what some of your numbers are. And in order to build that class, I had to look up numbers for how many balloons are in this design that I'm showing, how many are in this, and it took a lot of time to figure all that out. And now that I have the balloons, now I do some math on how much it costs for those balloons, how much do all the materials cost. A good recipe will save you some of those steps by just having the materials plain and simple right there. And then you should have an understanding at what you're paying for balloons already. And then it will make pricing easier. When we get to the example later, this will come into focus a little bit better. This one is a cool one for me. And this is the one that I feel like most people can benefit from in some way, shape, or form. And that is, you can add products to your lineup. If you have a recipe, then you should also have some kind of picture that goes with it. If you didn't build that recipe yourself, then the picture is coming from somebody else, which means your ability to show it to clients is going to be through email or some kind of private file share or something like that, because they're inspiration photos. But so right now I'm working on a flamingo. It's the nicest flamingo I've ever made. It looks amazing. And I can't wait to get a recipe put together for it, but I built it. You haven't built this flamingo that I just built. I built it brand new the first time this way ever, and I love it. But when I put this into a recipe, if you have access to that recipe, you can take the PNG that I'm going to add to the file, and you can send that to your client and be like, hey, this would be perfect for your event. You've never built this flamingo, but you've looked over the recipe and you know you have all the skills to do every step on the recipe. And even though you've never built it, you know that you can, and you know that what it's going to take to do that. You know a ballpark of how much time, and you know the materials. So you can comfortably add products to your lineup that you don't have to physically build yourself in order to get quality photos to share with your clients. And you can have confidence in it. If a client asked you to build a flamingo right now and you've never built one, you might be like, yeah, I can build one. And inside you're like, man, I've never built one. I'm going to have to figure it out. And then it's going to take you all the time. You're going to talk to friends about it. And that takes away from your efficiency of getting work done, right? So all of these things work together. And then the final one, this is actually information that was given to me by Marlene Potts, and I thought it was genius, and is that it will add value to your business. Now, it adds value in a way that most people just don't think. They don't think about it this way. It adds value at the end of your business cycle. When you're done working on your business, if you have a big fat folder of this is how you run this business, these are all the designs and products that we build, and this is how you build them. Or if you have digital files, which is probably what you should have instead of paper files, whatever. But if you have this information and it is a how to run my business for dummies, then that is gold to somebody who wants to buy your business. And if I have a book that's how to run my business for dummies, I don't need a smart person to buy my business. I don't need an artist to buy my business and they know, oh, I can totally make the stuff you did. I don't need to sell my business to another decorator. I literally just said, I have a manual that if you're a dummy and you have money to buy my business, you can buy it and you can profit from all the work I've put in, and you can do it because this manual will give you all the ways to do it. That is an insane, to me personally. I've bought several decor businesses. I'm looking to buy another one right now. If this person had this folder, I would be willing to pay her a lot more for her business than I'm probably going to, because I don't think she does. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the benefits to all businesses, and most of us have started our businesses solo mio, all by yourself, solopreneur, working from home. And maybe that's all you ever want to do, and that's fine. That's great. I still think having a business that you have everything written down will make it more efficient for you personally. Having access to recipes for designs you've never built will allow you to do jobs that you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. That's a great thing. But as you start getting more work, your business is going to have to scale. And one of the roadblocks to scaling your business is you. You become the first limiting factor because you have limits. You have time limits, you have energy limits, and those two things are typically the first things that run into a wall as a business is growing. And so like think of I don't know, something that outgrows a shell, right? Hermit crabs, don't they do that? It's like a hermit crab physically becomes the shell is the limit for the crab, and then it's got to move out and get something different, right? You would be the shell in that analogy. So trying to figure out if I have 6 jobs today, can I do 6 jobs? You might be able to do 6 jobs individually, but not all in one day, not all at the same time. And the only way to get that kind of stuff done is either to give jobs away and now you're getting paid less, or you bring on helpers. And you might be getting paid less per individual job, but if I got 80% of the pay from 6 different jobs, that's way better than 100% of the pay from 2. Right? So, and on top of that, you get the benefit of actually helping somebody else out financially by giving them a job, whether it's part-time, full-time, whatever. So there are some challenges with scaling. We're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about how instruction guides help with that. We're going to talk about transitioning to helpers, ensuring that there's quality despite using multiple teams, and then something that's called creating a feedback loop. Some of the challenges, I just talked about time management. That's a really big challenge. Remaining profitable while you grow is also a big challenge, because as you grow, you might think you're going to run into a time where you might need like an additional vehicle. That's going to eat into your profits. So you need to make sure that you're as efficient in the areas that you can be while you're having to add things to your business to handle an increased workload. Hiring the right people is a scaling challenge. Now, this is one that I'm actually kind of a little bit geeking out about. And that's because if I have a recipe for dummies to make everything that I know how to build and sell in our company, then I don't need to hire artists. A lot of us feel like in order for somebody to work with me, they really need to be highly artistic. And while that might be helpful, it's not really, it's actually not really helpful at all when you're giving them recipes because they feel stunted, which is something I'm running into with an employee currently. However, I don't care because the quality that I want coming from these recipes is more important than you spending 4 times that to give the same quality or something that I don't even like as much personally. So what this allows you to do when you're thinking about who can I bring on is I can focus on other things now. I can focus on their personality. I can focus on, do I think they're going to be a good fit for my team? Is their availability better than this other person? Like you can focus on other avenues of somebody, of a person that is more important to your business because they don't need to be artistic. And that to me is a pretty big deal. Working with employees in general, this is a side note, you will become a better person working with other people because you are going to hurt people. You're going to realize, man, I was just that boss that I hated as a kid growing up. I don't want to be that person. I'm going to have to work on myself in order to be a better manager, a better boss. I feel like I need to go back and all my first group of employees just apologize. I'm so sorry. I wasn't a jerk. I just didn't know how to be a good manager. And I didn't give you adequate information to do your job the way I was requiring you to do it. Like taking all that off the table because you are giving them good information. You're giving them recipes, you're giving them SOPs on how to do things, kind of makes it where, again, you can focus on what's important. And for you and your employees, what's the most important is the relationship that you have and making sure that they are doing the job you've hired them to do. Quality control, we talked about, and maintaining good customer service. Scaling challenge for good customer service is you just get super busy. You don't have time to respond to people in an appropriate time. And now they've already went on with a different company. They've hired somebody else, or they have problems and you didn't get back to them for 3 days. And now that problem is really annoying to them because they act like they don't think you care. So instruction guides versus increased skills. This is one where I really like if you increase the requirements of what your employees can do in order. So here's an example: 5-foot spiral column, 3-foot topper. That's the first thing that I teach an employee how to make. If the next day I get a 5-foot chevron column with a 3-foot topper, it's the same balloons blown up to the same size. The only thing that's different is the order in which they need to be put onto the pole and put together, the order in which they're put together. And it might be something you can hand somebody a picture and they might be able to figure it out, but I'm telling you, most of the time, it's going to be confusing and it doesn't feel like it makes sense to them, and they're not going to be able to do it. So I can either give them an instruction guide and say, hey, this is going to tell you how to do it, or I can take some of my time and go teach them this skill that I'm requiring them to have this skill to do a chevron column. And if I'm not writing it down for them and it's not written down, then the next time they get a chevron arch, they're going to have to remember, oh, how did we do that again? And you might have to go teach them the same thing all over again. I don't need my employees to be highly skilled. I need them to be very skilled in a few areas: how to tie balloons together appropriately, how to split a 5-foot or a 5-inch bubble. I need them to be able to blow up a 3-foot balloon because it's a little different tying it. I need them to tie a balloon on ribbon. Those are skills I need to teach them, not a skill of, hey, I need you to remember this pattern or this thing. Like, I need you to remember when you're making a flamingo, the skill is like I don't need them to be artistic skills on how to do stuff. I need them to read and be able to physically do the things that they're reading. In order to go from working alone to working with a team, you need to spend an abundance of time training on every product. We just talked about that. Ensuring quality with diverse teams. I have a story. So I love big jobs. The bigger, the better. But here's what I used to do, and Joette can attest to this because she's been on one, and I'm thinking of one in Tampa, where it was so big. I'm just going to dumb it down. Let's say there were 6 items. There were a lot more, but let's just say 6. And I brought in enough help to have 3 teams. Again, I'm pretty sure we had 4 teams. I'm pretty sure there were a dozen items, whatever. But I break up big jobs into small jobs. And then I say, okay, you're on team A. Team A, you're going to do the first and second item on this job. Team B, you're going to do the third and fourth item. Team C, you're going to do the fifth and sixth. And when you're done with the 6th one, you're going to help team A because their second item is going to take until this whole job's done. Team B, when you're done with yours, you're going to go help them. And then, so that's like a 10 to 15 minute conversation. And then I don't need to tell team C how team A is going to build their stuff. So I tell team B and C, hey guys, you just hold on. I'm going to come talk to you in a second. I need to get team A going. And then it's a literal 10 or 15 minute window of time before I get to team B, because I need to make sure everything in my head I'm giving to team A and that they know how to build what I want them to build. So I'm taking it from here, hopefully communicating it with words, and now they're going and they're building stuff. So I only have 2 of my 6 people who've shown up for this building something. The other 4 are waiting for me. And now they've waited 15 minutes. So now I go to team B and I do the same thing. I teach them what I need them to do. I make sure that we're on the same page. 10 or 15 minutes later, which is now 30 minutes later, I'm going to team C, which, by the way, is going to be the people I trust the absolute least. Not that I don't trust them at all, but I'm not giving them the most important job because I've just wasted 30 minutes of their time. I want my most effective people doing the things that require the highest skill level. So at this point, I'm done with team C, and it's been 45 minutes of all I've done is just told people how to do what they need to do. And then I turn around and look at team A and realize, man, I must not have communicated effectively. I don't think that. What I really think is these jerks didn't listen to me. They're not building it the way. The reality is I didn't communicate effectively. That's just not the way people think. So then I go back to team A. I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to have to undo half of this because that's not what I meant. So then I actually have to build the design myself and say, this is what I want done. Do you guys understand how I just did this? Yes, great. And then turn around and you're probably going to have the same problem with one of the other teams as well. And all you're doing the entire, for me, these kind of jobs are usually middle of the night. All you're doing from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. is running around making sure that what's in your head is happening in real life. And I haven't really given them great pictures. All I've done is used words. And words just aren't enough when you're communicating artistic vision to anybody. So with multiple teams, if you have recipes that are clear, concise, with good instructions, good visuals, you won't have that problem. And that would save you a lot of time. Now, this last one is called, let me put it this way. ChatGPT calls it a feedback loop, and I really like that term a lot. So that's what I'm going to call it. So no matter how much you build a recipe thinking that this is a recipe for dummies, you're going to find somebody who proves to you that you still didn't make it clear enough. So I like to use the example, and you're going to have an employee every now and then where you're like, I'm just trying to teach you how to tie your shoe. I didn't think I would have to tell you, put it on your foot first. And then there's going to be another person that comes along because now you tell them, put on your foot. I didn't think I would have to tell you, take it out of the shoebox from the store. Like, do you know what I mean? There's going to be somebody that's going to push you to redefine what dummy actually means when you're making these recipes for them. So what needs to happen is you give your employees the recipe, and then you ask for feedback. Hey, you built this thing, you followed the recipe. What did you think about the recipe? How did the design turn out? What areas do you think needs to be a little bit more clear? And then you take their information and you rework it and you show it to them. Say, hey, does this sound clear to you? Because you're not the one following these recipes that you've written. What usually happens is I pull out a recipe And it's just a gentle reminder of what's already in my head. But for these employees, I don't need this in their head. I just need them to read. And I need them to understand. So I'm trying to write this for them, not for myself. So you got to keep that in mind. If it's clear to you, that doesn't mean it's going to be clear to everybody else. The only way to get it clear is to ask for feedback and to keep asking for feedback until you're done. Okay, I told you we were going to look at an example. I love this example, and it's a really good one. There are numbers on this example that come from a pricing class that I taught through the Balloon Guild, which is on the Balloon Guild, and it'll be there forever. But this was an example of a recipe of the one on the right I made without a recipe because I was making the recipe as I was making it. This took me like 25 hours to build this daggone bunny because I was working on it all week long, trying to get the proportions right, trying to get the balloons to be the right size and everything. And it just took a long time, like more than I expected it to, because I was figuring it out myself. That's why. It also cost me a lot more balloons to make because I was figuring it out. And you make a ring of balloons and then it's not the right size. And now you're like, maybe I'm just going to untie all these balloons, or it might be better use of my time just to start over from whatever it is. Okay, so the one on the right without a recipe, it took me like 25 hours to build.
Jonathan,
Yes.
we're just seeing one bunny. We're just seeing Balloon Babe's bunny currently.
Yes, exactly. Well, okay, so
okay,
what
you're saying the one that you're written about. Gotcha.
This right here, the numbers without a recipe.
Gotcha.
That's what I mean on the right, the column on the right of numbers. So it took me 25 hours, cost me a lot more in balloons. The overhead you see is the same. So for this example, it's irrelevant. We were using these numbers to get the price that you should have as a starting point for what you would charge for this. You could probably charge more than $1,800 for a bunny that's 13 feet tall, depending on who your client is, depending on how you sell things, all of that stuff. That if I charge that amount of money, what you see at the very bottom is the amount of money that you would make personally if, and this is only if, you were the one doing all of the work. So if you look at the bottom half of this with the numbers where it says labor, $625 would go to you if you traded 25 hours of your time at $25 an hour for this. And if you did that, you were the only one working on it. You spent 25 hours. You take all of the information from it. You're going to have, again, these are just estimates, take home pay of $1,239, which is really great for an $1,800 bunny. On the left column with a recipe, it took the Balloon Babes, Miss Katie, who's amazing. It took her only 5 hours to build because she didn't have to figure out a darn thing. It took her a lot less balloons than it took me. And then all the other numbers are the same. The selling price you can ignore because that selling price, again, was for a pricing class, different conversation. She didn't sell it for that. Let's say that we're selling this for the same price as the $1,800 now because it's worth that amount of money, right? If I were the one doing this, it would only take me 5 hours of work. The profit on that would be $1,245. And then in this example, we also were paying ourselves as a manager a certain amount of money a week. This was one of the jobs. The take-home pay would be $1,470. The important thing to note is in order to make that $1,470, I would have only had to work 5 hours of time. I could have taken $125 off the table and given it to an employee to work instead of myself. And then my take-home pay would have been $1,350 ballpark and worked 0 hours. That's really important to know, right? I could take home $1,300 ballpark and work no hours. All I have to do is give an employee this instruction guide. Maybe it takes them an extra hour than it would you. Or I could work 25 hours and make less money. So this is a very extreme example. I'm not selling 13-foot tall bunnies every week. So it is an extreme example, but in this case, you can see how having a recipe saves me so much time and so much money on a big project like this that it's a no-brainer. I can work a lot less hours and profit more, or I could work 5 times as long and profit less. So I did want to give a more realistic example. And the difference here is this is a classic, both classic designs. You're probably not going to spend more time, or you're not going to spend more product. So you're not going to have balloon waste on classic designs, probably not very much, not enough to really count it. What you are going to spend is time. It's going to cost you more time to build, because you either have to figure it out for yourself, which could be as simple as scouring the internet. Again, you're actually looking for the thing that I'm telling you you need, scouring the internet for some instruction somewhere, or you're going to figure it out yourself, which might be something you can do, maybe not. And then more than that is if you have employees who are building this, now you have to spend time showing them instead. So in this case, for this example, I just added an extra hour of time that it's going to take for you to do this without a recipe than with one. It might be more than that, to be honest with you, but an hour to me seems like a ballpark fair amount. Now, if you're, again, what it costs you to pay yourself $20 is probably closer to 25 bucks for an hour when you factor taxes, whatever, which means this job probably would be a $25 savings, which I know that's a lot different than the example we just gave, but you get this job a lot more than you do the other one. So if I took this job and I could save 25 bucks, that makes me more profitable, and I'm happy about that. And then I think, well, if I save 25 bucks on 10 jobs, that's 250 bucks. Now let's talk about 100 jobs, right? Now we're talking a couple $1,000s in a year's time that I'm going to save just by having recipes. And more than the money for me is the time, which is what I'm talking about down here in the gains. People say time is money, and I think that that's not quite accurate. You can spend money to get your time back, or you can give your time away to make money, which is why people think time is money. But to me, time is more important than that, because I can always go trade time for money all the time. I can't get more time in my life. It's a finite amount, and I don't know how much that's going to be. And I like to be very greedy with that time and not just give it to jobs that I don't care about. I'd rather pay employees to do the work so I can have the time to do the things that I really, really want to do. Okay, if you guys like creating recipes yourself, I am going to, I need to think of how this is going to go, but I'm going to give this recipe to you guys. It's probably going to look like you guys have to be on our public Facebook group and make a comment, loved your class, or something like that. And then I will private message you this recipe, which I love this wall and I really want to see somebody build it because I think it looks really cool. And this, just so you know, this recipe is a lot longer than just 2 pages. I just put the first 2 pages up. But for a good recipe, you're going to have a materials list, which on the left sheet you can see starts at the top and it has a little list going down. There's miscellaneous items, there's framing items. It has step-by-step instructions. So you can see at the bottom of the first page, inflating the chains. And then on the second page, you see very clear pictures of what it should look like, right? And everybody knows those are balloons. Like, you're not going to have an employee not understand what that is. It should have a ballpark of time, so you know your employees how much time it should take for them to build. In this case, this should be about 3 hours of time. And then it will have visual aids, which I just talked about, the pictures of the balloons, so that they're easy to understand and read. Now, I do, on some recipes, I do put things in text and in picture, because some people like one more than the other. And I like to offer them, for those who need to read all the little details, they can read them. And the last thing is it needs special notes or added resources. So you can see on the left sheet, there's a special note about tying Linkaloon balloons together. That needs to be in there. Otherwise, it could mess up your whole recipe if you're crews tying balloons inappropriately. And if this is a skill they don't have, you can tell them, hey, if you don't, once you tie a couple links together, come show me. I just want to make sure you got that right. I'm not going to go show them if they tell me they already know. I just want to verify. Again, I'm stingy with my time. The other part of added resources is there might be, so if I realize I'm having to show every employee this one part on this recipe, maybe it would be a good idea for me to make a video doing this thing that I have to show them, because the recipe, I can't get it clear enough for anybody. So I'm going to make a video to explain it, to show it, and then I'm going to save it. And then that becomes a resource that goes with the recipe. And I'll show you guys how we do that in just a second. All right, resources and tools. Balloon Pro is a really great program by Chris Adamo. I will, when we're done with this, I can kind of just show you guys a little. I'm not going to show you how to use it because it takes way longer than I have time for. But I'll show you the website and just show you what it looks like. And then you can decide if you want to sign up for it or not. It's I think you get a 7-day free trial. I think he has that just on his website. But this tool is what I use to make these recipes look really clear. And I have Chris's permission to do that because he's a supporter of us and we're a supporter of him. The pricing for that is $14 a month or $120 a year, which is $10 a month if you average it out. Canva is a great program. I use Canva to put all this stuff together. When I first started this with John, I didn't know diddly squat about Canva. And I was doing everything on a Word document. I was taking pictures and I was cutting out the background. I actually paid my daughter to cut the background out of some of these designs. It was insane the amount of time it was taking me to do recipes. Canva, super fast. The thing I would say if you use Canva is you do need to load resources into it so that you can use those resources for everything you do. So in this example, the black and the white balloons, those are resources I have loaded into Canva. So all I have to do is click that. I don't have to add a new one in every time I'm going to use it. It's already saved in the system. YouTube. So YouTube has a feature that is unlisted, is a feature when you create a video. We have the Balloon Guild, we have unlisted videos for some of the things that I told you about, where it's specific instructions that are just way better to have visually done. And they're unlisted, and we have a link to them on our recipe guides. If you have a recipe that you're making for your team or something like that, you could also use this for SOPs. You can have an you have your own YouTube account and you can have it, again, you want to try to organize it by playlist or something that makes it more effective organization, and then just have them unlisted. You don't want just anybody and everybody finding your stuff. Unless you do, if that's what you want to do, that's great. Put it on public. But I mean, if you're working hard, people work hard all the time and should get paid for it. So, okay. And then the last thing is, I mean, you could have your own photo editing software. I don't know. There's a million things out there. Adobe Illustrator for those who are like super mega photo editing nerds. I don't know. There's a lot of programs out there that you can use. The top 3 are the ones that I use personally. Or a tool is the Balloon Guild. All the things that I just told you about are things that I use to create these recipes that I think look amazing. And if you want to save time with training and teaching your employees, then you should use recipes. If you want to save time where you say, okay, Jonathan, that's good, I should use recipes, but I really don't want to take the time to find them. And I will be honest with you, there's a lot of free stuff online. You can find it. It just takes time, and it takes you searching and hoping that it's there, and then you get one and realize you've just watched it for 5 minutes and realize you don't actually like the way it looks or whatever. There are resources out there, not for everything that you want to do, but for a lot of stuff. A lot of people have recipes where you're buying them per recipe. And there's a lot of great work out there. The Balloon Guild is trying not to step on anybody's toes as we're building what we're building. But in the long run, we're going to have every dang thing under the sun, all under one umbrella and organized, neat, and tidy for everybody to have. So if you want to save time on building recipes, then the Balloon Guild's the way to go, because we have over 300 items in there right now, and we are adding as much as we can as fast as we can. And it's over 10 recipes a month, and it's only $30 a month. You can't beat it for the price. In my opinion, if I can save you an hour, hour and a half of your time every month, then it's worth paying for. Okay, so hopefully you understand why you want recipes. Hopefully you'll understand why you need them and that it's something you want to do. So then you're like, okay, so I got the idea of recipes. I don't really know what to do with them because I'm still back to the place where I just have a bunch of papers on my desk. So obviously you've identified the problem, and that is storing them. How are you going to store them? You can store them in physical form if you want. I would get page protectors and a very sturdy binder. If you do that, you're also going to need to pay attention to the organization, how you put them in that binder. I would probably divide them up between classic decor. You could divide up columns. You could have the same recipe put in 2 different areas just so that it's easy to find. A 5-foot column, spiral column could be in classic, and it could be in columns. You could have arches, you could have organic, you could have sculptures. You can have it divided up by holidays. There's a lot of different ways you can divide it up. The main thing is that you know how to divide it up and you know how to get what you need to your employees. Access is the second thing. Another way you can store these is on a computer. You can put them in a big file on your computer, again, trying to organize them nice and neat, but your employees have to have access to them. If, like right now, I don't think there's another type of thing like the Balloon Guild. I know Joette has some recipes and a ton of SOPs and a lot of information on BalloonCoach. The only way to get to that is to have access to that, right? So if you store them online, your employees have to have access to it. The Balloon Guild, I'll just speak for that because I know it. If you give your employee your login for that, then they can log in on their phone and get the recipe that they need, and then they don't have to get on your computers. Just depends on what your employees are allowed to do in your workplace. Okay, recipe performance and feedback. I talked about this a little bit. If you're going to implement recipes in your place, especially if you have employees and you haven't been using them, you need to ask for feedback. It's going to give your employees a little bit of ownership sense that, hey, this is a new thing we're getting. We're excited about it because it's not being crammed down our throat. If it's like you're coming in like super hard, super strict, this is what we're going to do from now on. There's no deviation. There's no wavering. There's no blah, blah, blah. And I don't care about your opinion. I don't care what you're telling me. I could actually be 100% on board with what you're telling me. But if that's the way you're feeding it to me, then I don't want it. That's just human interaction, right? So ask for feedback. Ask them to help you with the recipes. And just as a side note, a lot of the recipes in the Balloon Guild have a Canva link, which means you can go to a Canva template and you can edit that template for yourself. So if you don't like some of the sizing on some of the recipes, or you want to change one thing, then you can do that and then print it out for yourself. I actually do that for my own company, and I tweak some of the recipes that we've been given, and I print them out for our company, and they're slightly different than what they are in the guild. And then lastly, commonly used recipes. So this could be SOPs as well. Probably for us, the most common thing that we use is a sizing guide. If you're going to use recipes, you're probably going to be dealing with inches. And if you're dealing with inches, that's not what your machines say, ever. They have numbers, right? They have decimal points and numbers. So for me, I have a sizing guide printed out and taped to the wall in my shop. And I know that if I need a 5-inch balloon blown up to 3 inches, I put the small nozzles on my machine and it's 0.6. For my twin air, for the precision air, it's don't ever do it because it doesn't blow up your 5-inch balloons good anymore. So it's off the table. 11-inch balloons. If I need one at 9 inches, I know that on the twin air, I set it for this. On the precision air, it's a different number. So This is also a guide that is in the Balloon Guild. It is something that I'm going to recreate in Canva so that it's easier for you guys to edit if you're a member of the Balloon Guild. But I would advise you take the time to do this for yourself and get your own machine's numbers for the sizes that are listed, right? You need to know what number blows up a 5-inch balloon to 3 inches. You need to know what blows one up to 4 inches, what blows one up to 4.5 inches. It's going to take you a few hours to get everything, to write it down, and then to transmit that over to a digital form so that it's clean and easy for you to use. Hopefully you guys understand and see why balloon recipes are amazing, why you want them. And I mean, I hope you guys are interested in what the Balloon Guild has to offer. I'm open to questions. I can show you stuff on the internets or whatever.
I'd say if you could do a short tour so people see what's back there, that would probably be helpful. And then you said that you were going to show off Chris's design
Sure.
tool.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so can you guys see this? I'll make it bigger. Can you see?
Balloon Proco, yep.
Yep. Okay. So I've already logged in. This is on his lesson library, and he has a few different little videos showing you just how to do certain techniques. What I mostly use it for is here, design tools, and then go to design templates. My internet's been weird, so I wanted to have these pages ready. It comes up with the duplet square pack. If this is a technique that you know how to do, great. If you get a recipe for a duplet square pack, you're going to have to teach your employees how to do this technique before you just hand them a recipe for it, right? That's an example of once they know how to do a duplet square pack, I never need to teach them that again. You could potentially create a video to teach all of your employees forever how to do it, but this is one you may need hands-on training because it's going to be a lot more effective. Most of what I like to do for backdrops is X-weave walls. So this is almost exclusively how I use this program. You can pick whatever color you want that matches the color that you're doing most. And then you can just paint whatever you want on here, however you want it to be. He has other, like there's a block paint feature. He has it where you can click a balloon and you can inflate it to a different size. So you could build yourself like an organic looking wall if you want. And then you could change some of the colors for whatever you want them to be. When you're done, what you can do with it is take the guides off so it looks neat and clean. What I will do with this is I do like a screen capture, and then I will use this backdrop, this right here. I will edit the back out of it. And then this is now a PNG that I can put over top of a picture. I need to see how I do that, to be honest with you. I've been using Canva so much that I don't remember exactly what I need to do for this. Might be this. Oh, that turned out really big. Yeah, so if your client sends you a picture of the front of their building, you can take this thing that you've done and say, or they've sent you a picture of where they want the decor to be. You can put this over it, and it's not real balloons. Obviously, it's an illustration, but you could send it to them. And I'm going to tell you what, people will buy what they see so much faster than you just describing it to them. So visual aids are extremely, they're extremely good. There's a lot more to this. I know that Chris has instruction videos on his website that will tell you about how to use it. And then just on a personal note, I taught a class recently on X-weave walls, And if you are a member of the Balloon Guild and you go to one of our X-Weave walls as a recipe, there's a link to the class. You're going to see that I don't ever include this top row because I like the way that looks way better than I do with them sticking off. So I like my walls to have this look to it. And then there's the little 5-inch ones on the side. All right. Now the Balloon Guild, I've already logged in again, and we're continuing to work on the formatting of the website and how things are searched and all that. There's a search bar here. I could type in column and then see a boatload. Like imagine being a new employee who knows how to do, I know how to do classic decor, and then I'm handed like this rainbow recipe, right? If I had to figure that out, it would be a huge pain. But our recipes are easy to understand, easy to read, and easy to follow. And in this case, it's a one-page recipe where you're going to follow the pattern that's shown there. Back. We have, I want to show you another way that we're working on how to navigate is through thumbnails, where you're going to click on a picture. It's going to take you to more. So like classic balloon decor is going to take you, I could click on arches, bouquets. I could click on any of these and then it's going to open up more, or I can just look here. This is an example of what I was saying about the wall. If I click on that, it's going to go to the video, which is like an hour-long video, hour and some change of me teaching a class on how to do an X-weave wall. So if you have an employee working for you and you don't have an hour and a half to teach them how to build a wall, you can put them on this and tell them, figure it out. There's a video with this dude who's going to show you how to do it. If you have questions, come ask me. In the meantime, I'm going to be working on marketing our business, or I'm going to be working on sales, or I'm going to be working on whatever it is that you need to do for your company. Like I said, the other thing that's cool about our business that I'm excited that we do is every month we do a designer of the month. This month, it happens to be Joette, which is amazing. And we do a meeting with that person, and then on their page, that meeting's going to be loaded here, and then all of their designs are going to be down here. I have one of Joette's made. If you want to know how to build that and you don't have access to it, and you're a member of the guild, you could go right there, and that's a one-page one as well. But I'll show you real quick who some of our other ones are. That's John Fudge. That's me. We have some really cool recipes from, oh my gosh, my brain is just not working. These are some really cute designs from Eliana, right? I think they're cute. She was our first guest designer ever. We have Kristen Marlene Potts, Katie Hope, Jenny, Joette, Tabitha, Brianna, and a lot of these are people who are instructors that are going to be at Balloon Boss Summit, which is amazing. We got Lamar, Flavia, Mr. Dave Mahoney, and Chris Adamo. So we're bringing on somebody every month who is sharing some of their designs, and they're all different kinds. So if I click on Mr. Mahoney's, you're going to see these are way different than some of the other ones that we have from other companies, other people. So the other thing that I like about this is what I said about building your own book. We have SOPs as well. And SOP is basically an instruction guide for how to do something in your business that doesn't really involve building a balloon column or building a balloon design. Some of it is like building bases. Some of it is like I do fabric decor. I don't know if anybody else does that, but I want to just put it in there for my own, again, for my own people. I don't want to have to teach them everything. I'd rather teach it really well one time and then they can watch it. If you've never done a balloon drop, I've had people who their first balloon drop was done with our instructions and it went off just fine, which I think is amazing. I teach classes occasionally, and I like to just put them in here once enough time has passed. I have pool job instructions. That's the balloon sizing chart. Trying to think what else there is that, I mean, we have a lot of stuff coming up that I really can't talk about yet that I'm super excited about. If you want to work on how to price your, if you want a pricing class, I'm going to tell you what, it's a 3-hour class. So you're going to probably need to take it in doses instead of all at once. But this class right here will teach you how to price your decor probably more than any other thing that's out there right now for balloon decor people specifically. Yeah.
It's an excellent class.
Yes. And then we have, if you join the Balloon Guild, we have a Facebook group. We have a public page. We have a Facebook group that we're just letting anybody in, the BalloonCoach community. And then we have a private Facebook group that's only for subscribers. So there's differences between them, but those groups are ones where people will help each other out quite a bit as well. So if we don't have a recipe for something because we're building it, then it's something where people can request recipes as well as share ideas and stuff like that. And you can see, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff on here. I tried to stay ahead of the holidays for the first year. And then beyond that, I'm just trying to put in the things that I feel like are the most popular, the most commonly booked items, and so forth and so on. Are there any questions for me? I can show you anything in here. I can show you whatever. We also have like beginner balloon twisting videos. Link numbers. I need to pull up the chat thing.
All right, awesome tour. So guys, if you have a question for Jonathan, you can open up your mic or type it in. I am recording these first ones just because I want to make sure if there's questions about what he shared, you can do it. And someone's asking, what is the name of the subscriber Facebook page? Is that something that you send out to your subscribers?
You get a link to it with the welcome email for being a subscriber. If you are a subscriber already, you can message me on Facebook and I will make sure that everything's good to go, and then I'll get you in it.
And what's the subscriber or the non-subscriber group, your open group called?
It is called the Balloon Guild Community, I believe. Let me see if I can just go to it real quick without accidentally closing everything.
And so guys, as you're thinking up your questions, if you have other questions and you're watching this as a replay, you can always reach out directly to Jonathan through the Balloon Guild. Or you can also email joette@ballooncoach.com. And I do want to officially invite you guys to join us at Balloon Boss Summit in Orlando. Some people in the chat were talking about like balloon drops. We build balloon drops at Summit, so you can practice doing that and rigging them and putting them up. Also, you can practice putting together these types of recipes. If there's something that you've got and you just want somebody to help you put that recipe together, John and John will be there with their computers to help you out. Both Jonathans will be there to help you with computer stuff. And we have such an amazing group of mentors and instructors that will be there. So just a reminder, if you're interested in that and if you would like a discount, email joette@ballooncoach.com. Tell me that you are on this live and I will get you a discount to join us at Summit in Orlando. The last thing that I want to say while we're on the recording is that when you have other things that you would like to know about, please email me with ideas or send me a private message and let me know how I can help you out. So we always like to have different speakers on to help you out with growing your business. John, did you want to show them anything else here before we turn off the recording?
Yeah, I just wanted to show like one thing that the Balloon Guild is about is growing something that's going to stick around. I like to, it's not even a joke. Like it's kind of where my heart is. I want to be in heaven for like 300 years and somebody comes to me and they're like, wait, you're one of the Jonathans that started the Balloon Guild? just so you know, like my grandma used to do balloons, and then my mom did balloons, and I do balloons, and we still use your program. Like it's still going, it's still growing. Like I want it to be something that kind of like what Joa talks about, connecting people together, but it's a resource that benefits distributors, benefits balloon decorators. Like I would love, like it's crazy to me when I see Facebook post, hey, where do you guys get your balloons from? Like you're just getting you're that new that you don't know where distributors even are. That's great because now I can help somebody find a reputable company instead of just buying Amazon balloons. So we have a list of all kind of distributors on our website, and some of these distributors are working with us, giving our members a slight discount on their balloons. So I'm trying to find 20 different value adds for you with our company that make any one of them worth you having a subscription for. So I know that Joette's on here as well. Decor resources, industry and events training, right? And I know that she also has a discount for your first month for the Balloon Boss Mastermind, right? Yep. So if that's something that you're interested in, and that's again, for our members, we're trying to save them money. I would love to save you time and save you money every single month. And like I said, I run a decor business and I am growing the Balloon Guild for myself. And I'm spending more time doing the things that I'm doing because I want them to be perfect for everybody. So that flamingo, I ended up taking it half apart and redoing it when I would have been fine with it for my client, but I wasn't fine with it overall for what I want it to be forever. So instead of saying, well, next time I'm going to change it, I'm doing stuff like that now where I spend an extra 30 minutes working on it to make it better for since I'm putting it as a recipe for everybody else. So Miss Jennifer, I assume that's or Jennifer. If you'll message me on Facebook, I will just verify that you're a subscriber and I'll send you a link to it. You should get a welcome email when you sign up. It might go to your spam. And then just subscribing to the Balloon Guild give you access past info. Yes. So basically what you're subscribing to is you're subscribing to have access to our website. And our website is a growing library of resources, recipes, SOPs. There are other things. One thing I can tell you that we are working on, and I can tell you because it's not really a secret, is we're working on creating a Find a Local Pro page where we can link to your business and then that will help you a little bit with SEO. So that is what I am. That's one of the things that we're doing that we've talked about already. And I want all of our members to be able to be on there just as a little extra help to search engine optimization. I would love to hear somebody who gets a job because somebody found them through our website. I think that'd be cool. Let me see if there's any more questions. What's a good number of recipes to start with while working solo? So Brittany, here's my advice, and this isn't just for recipes. This is for, man, I'll give you a story at where this came about. I got a request for a neon job back when I just only used email. I did everything through email. So I sent pictures of all these neon balloons that I found online. I'm like, this is all the cool stuff I can do. And it wasn't very much compared to what it is now. And I hit send it to a customer. And then like a few weeks later or a month later, somebody asked for a neon party. And I'm like, well, dang it. I wish I still had that email. So I recreated the same email all over again and I hit send. And then a month later or 2 months later, somebody asked for a neon party. What I started doing was creating my own menus in Dropbox paper, which I don't use anymore. I would use Canva now. But I created my own menus so that I could just add it to an email as a link. Hey, here's a menu that I have. So my the point of that story is if you find yourself doing the same thing over and over and over again, start with that. Again, classic decor is easy. 5-foot column with a 3-foot topper, 30-foot arch. For party people events, we do a lot of those. And that's where I would start. The stuff that you need to do all the time. It's going to be the stuff that you don't personally need a recipe for because you've already done it enough. But I would get that stuff out of the way so that when you are building something a little bit more complex, you're able to do it and write that stuff down as you go, and you're not going to be bogged down. So the weird thing about being a business owner, and for me personally, is I never have time to do the things that I want to do when we're busy. And then when we're not busy, I never have the desire to do, like, I work better under pressure. So I need to be a little bit busy and then I can get stuff done. If we're dead, it's almost like nothing on my to-do list is ever going to get done when we're dead. So I would say do it now. Get it out of the way before you actually need it.
I love it. So, Jonathan, can you tell me one thing before we wrap up the recording that you really enjoy about being an instructor at Balloon Boss Summit?
Yeah, so I mean, one thing is going to be hard
Or
to
you
narrow.
can do multiple. I'm cool with that too.
So I like and here's you're going to see people who probably were instructors who are attendees, which I think says a lot and it's great. Um, I think a lot of the instructors enjoy teaching for you because they get to be an attendee while they're still doing an instructor duty that is not, their time isn't dominated the entire time because they're teaching a 2-hour class or something. So they get to partake, and most instructors that I know are they're very good about enjoy helping people. That's why most of us want to teach, because it's fun to help people come to understand things that we have.
And basically, like what you like about the format of Summit and how you interact
Uh,
there.
yeah, I like that you're going to leave and you were already should have taken action on some of the things that you have learned. And most places, it's like you have a to-do list when you get home, again, of 20 things, and you don't usually get most of them. But at Summit, you're going to have a list of things to do when you get home, but you're going to have a list of things that you've already started while you were there. And the format usually is teach and then work on stuff, a lot of it. And there's times for just working on stuff too. So I think
Yay.
it's great.
So I just want to thank the Balloon Guild for being a part as a sponsor this year. Because what's great is it not only gets you to be able to learn from Jonathan, but also being able to talk to Jonathan and Jonathan about putting those SOPs together, putting your recipes together, and like having time sitting at a table, might be poolside, might be indoors, and just being able to hang out and have that help and assistance that sometimes we struggle with when we're working on computer things. So thank you for sharing all this amazing information. And again, guys, you know how to get a hold of us. If you have questions after this, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording now so those who are on live can ask questions. And anybody watching this as a replay, join us next time during a live lunch and learn so you can get your questions answered also.